Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Winning Edge talk show. And on this Sunday evening, I have with me a very interesting person. He's a fencer, and he represented India, and he's now a India team coach. And he's none other than Mr. Lohit Vijay. Is Lohit, and his name is his is called as Vijay by his friends and close friends and relatives. Okay, welcome to the show, Mr. Vijay, Mr. Lohit.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes,
It's a pleasure to be here.
very
Yes.
nice. Okay, it's very nice to have you on the show. Now let me introduce Mr. Lohit to the participants. Okay, Mr. Lohit. Is a fencer who represented Karnataka as a player in the sub-junior, cadet, and senior categories, and won several medals. He represented Bangalore University and also won medals in those competitions. Then he went on to become a coach for fencing. Then he earned his diploma in sports coaching from the National Institute of Sports, Patiala, and received a grade in the year 2013-14. Then he is a certified B licensed international referee from Federation International. They scream FIE in FOL and EP. What it means, I think Mr. Lohit himself will explain. Then he's also a certified C license Sabra referee from Fencing Confederation of Asia. He has served as a coach for the Indian fencing team and as for the Karnataka team as well. He has served as referee for several national and international events, and he has 6 years of coaching experience, training players from all groups. He's producing international players and national and helping them to win national medals. Then he is also a guest lecturer for the Netaji Subhash National Institute of Sports, Patiala, for his NIS coaching. Now, even today, he was engaged in online coaching, and I thank him for making the time to appear on this show. Then he has experience of working with schools, various fencing associations, and clubs. Okay. Then he has served as a coach for Sports Authority of India, training girls fencing team in Kerala, uh, part as a part of his internship. Then he's a member of the selection committee for Fencing Association of India. Then he's the head coach of archery and fencing school at Sante Maranhalli, Chamarajanagar district in Karnataka. And this school is being managed by Sports Authority of Karnataka since March 2018 till the present. Then uh, Yes, it's it's really nice to have Mr. Lohit on the show. And Mr. Lohit, welcome to the show once again.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
and
you. Thank you very much. Like I said, it is a pleasure to be here.
congratulations for all your achievements in the field of fencing. And
Thank you.
let's get started. Mr. Lohit, fencing is not a popular sport as cricket, football, hockey, or any other game in India. Then how did you yourself get into fencing?
Well, if you see, fencing isn't a popular sport, as you were told, but fencing was introduced in Karnataka at the 97 National Games, which was held in Bangalore. So the idea behind bringing fencing to the Karnataka National Games was to secure more number of medals since we are being the host. Since fencing has more number of medals to be won, like gymnastics, swimming, and athletics after them. So they had introduced at Kantirva Indoor Stadium, and it was my parent who put us into fencing, me and my sister. So initially, I wasn't very keen or interested in fencing. So my sister is also an international fencer like me. She's also an Eklavya awardee. So she joined fencing, and I looked up to that. And in a year's time, I was already, my coach's favorite student, and I got my first opportunity when I was at the age of 9. So I started fencing pretty much at 8 and 8, 9, and then I was about 10 when I first won my under 14 national medal, and from then on it just took over.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, one sec. Yeah. How popular is fencing in India, Mr. Lloyd? And how popular is it abroad?
Well, fencing is a very popular sport in European countries, especially in the region of France, Hungary, Italy. Almost complete Europe. Fencing is a very, very popular sport, and it is also another popular sport in the American region also. However, in India, as you know, that it isn't a very popular sport. However, it is getting its publicity thanks to Bhavani Devi, who has now qualified for the Olympics. At least through her, I think we have got a brand ambassador now. For the publicity of fencing.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Okay, nice to hear that. Then, Mr. Lloyd, which are the international competitions and games fencing is a part of? Now we clearly know that fencing is an Olympic sport. Now, which are the other international competitions and the games like Asian, Commonwealth?
Yeah,
Can you just name a few?
yes, fencing is part of Olympics, as you know. It's one of the four sport that is featured in all the Olympics from the time modern Olympic has started from 1896.
Oh, is it?
So it is one of the four sports that is featured in all the Olympics. So it is a record that fencing has with the other three sports.
Yeah.
Apart from the Olympics, we have it at the Asian Games, which is the second biggest games that we have. It is part of Asian Championship, Commonwealth Championship. It was part of the Commonwealth Games until certain time in the 70s and 80s, and then due to restrictions of lesser days in the Commonwealth Games, they gave the opportunity to the host country to have lesser events. So that's when fencing. Now we don't have it as part of Commonwealth Games. That's why you did not see it in 2010 Delhi Commonwealth Games or any other recent Commonwealth Games. But it is part of the Commonwealth Championship and the other games that I told you.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
it is also part of the Youth Olympics, uh, African Games, South American Games, a lot of European games. It is a very big sport when you go out. There are about 158 countries that participate in fencing at a world championship level. So you can imagine the number of countries participating and the number of people who are competing at it. It is not like you're competing with just 10 to 15 countries. No, not at all. So here you are going head to head with all these nations. Yeah.
Okay. Talking about fencing to us Indians, when we look at fencing, we are always reminded of those movies, the historical movies, when the kings were ruling the country. When during wars were fought with swords, that was the kind of battle that they used to do those days, and they used to fight with swords. Fencing is of a similar kind, They use those that you will explain later how the some they stick similar to a sword. Now, tell us more about fencing as a sport. What are the categories it is involved in, and what's the duration of each match? Then, what's the point system, and what are the rules made for fencing?
Okay, so like I said earlier, fencing is an integral part of the Olympics fencing sport. If you look at the founder of modern Olympics, his name is Piers de Coubertin. He himself was a fine fencer. So it's to start with that, fencing turned out to become a sport. Initially, it was just like you said, the kings used to fence, and members of the royal community used to fence. So it is this aristocrats from Europe who used to fence in the real swords. So they used to settle on disputes by fencing. So whoever draws the first blood, drop of blood, so he wins the disputes. So then further, this was taken into sports because you can't afford to kill a lot of people. So once it is come in as a sport, people have this misconception that it is still a very dangerous sport. People could get injured, die. But let me tell you, this is the number one fact that or the misconception people have, that you need to understand that fencing is one of the safest sport even compared to soccer and hockey.
Oh, nice to
You
hear.
will not get at all. Yes, the injury level that is there when you compare to soccer and hockey, it is not even close to it. So it is very, very safe sport. Now we don't use those sharp objects. We use flexible weapons, and these are all electric weapons. So you have electric wiring to it,
Okay.
and there is a tip to it with a spring. So there are three events in fencing: foil, ipi, and saber. So foil and ipi are thrusting weapon. So there is a tip with a spring, like I mentioned. There is a wire that is done in the middle of the weapon, a small wiring, and then you have a socket that is connected to the guard, and then you wear a body wire which is connected to the socket, and then the body wire is out. That is connected to the spool, which is like a junction box. So that wire is connected to the scoreboard. So as soon as the tip goes inside, so for foil you need to have a pressure of more than 500 grams, and for EP it is 750 grams. It's not just you just touch for these two events. You have to thrust with this pressure. Then the hit will be registered immediately. So this is the concept of foil and EP, which is a thrusting weapon. And the target areas are different. For EP, it is the whole body, and for foil, it is just the upper body, but it does not include your mask or your upper limbs. So it is just like you're wearing a sleeveless sweater. That is the target for foil. So coming to the third event, which is saber. Saber is very fast. Saber, you get points even if you touch. You don't have to thrust. So this is a thrusting and cutting weapon wherein there is no tip to it, but there is electric connected to it. So it is very, very fast. So the moment you touch, it is a hit. So there are different, game like you have it in league, and then you have it as direct elimination. So when you are fencing in the league stages, it is for five touch, 3 minutes. Whoever gets the first five touch, or at the end of 3 minutes, whoever is leading is the winner. And when you move to the direct elimination, it is for 9 minutes and 15 touches. So whoever gets to 15 touch first wins, or whoever is leading at the end of 9 minutes wins. So you have two breaks in between the 9 minutes, which is of 1 minute each. So that's a small explanation about fencing. These are these two weapons, saber and foil, are conventional weapons. EP is an unconventional weapon. So you will understand once you get in more deep into it.
Yes. What is your sword-like thing called? The stick? What do you call that?
So you either call it foil, EP, or saber. So it depends on different. These look different. Like I said, these target areas are different. So I
Okay.
forgot to mention, saber is cutting weapon. With the target area is the complete upper body. It
Okay.
includes your upper limbs as well as the mask.
Okay.
So the look of it itself is different. The style of playing itself is different. So
Okay.
these three events are not the same. It's completely
Okay.
different. Yeah.
I remember seeing one competition in Kanteerwar Stadium, that indoor stadium. Whenever the striker used to, the fencer used to touch the opponent's body, a light used to come on. Am I right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. The tip of the
Okay.
fencer's blade is the second fastest thing at the Olympics after the bullet of the shooter.
Oh.
So the moment the tip touches, there is a light execution of that light. So it's basically a sport where it is the only combat sport without a weight category. So
Mhm.
basically, this involves more of your agility and logical thinking. Not just logical thinking, but quick thinking. You need to quick and respond in split seconds.
Yeah.
That's a small,
Yeah.
introduction, about fencing.
Yeah, there is something as similar to sword fighting, where they have to evade, escape the enemy's charge, because there it's totally life and death. So it's as similar as that, very quick,
Yes,
and you have to evade, you have to use your intelligence, dodge him, and
yes,
do all such things.
yes. So it is played on a strip which is just 14 meters in length and 1.5 meters in width.
Okay.
So you will have to have the right balance and coordination, and your explosive strengths play a vital role in moving up and down in that small
Okay.
area, because like you mentioned, if you have to evade or parry your opponent's weapon or move front and back, it is just that space that you have.
Okay. Okay, very, very interesting. Okay, now thank you for that information. It's really one never understands that there is so much of technology and variations involved, and that's it. The more the sport becomes a television sport, more people watch it, the more it's going to become popular. Okay, Mr.
Yes, definitely. I think EP is the one event which is the unconventional event where
Mhm.
people can understand better, because whoever hits, whichever light comes, if both lights both get a point. But saber and foil are not like EP, so these are conventional weapons. So it depends on a referee will decide who gets the point depending on who has the right of way. So
Yeah,
this is where people don't understand. But if it is EP event, if it is on
yeah,
television, it is very easy to understand and watch.
yeah,
But it is very exciting to just sit down and watch saber event, yeah, because it's very fast.
yeah. Mr. Lohit, looking at this present modern world and the present generation, it's a fast life, as you know, no fast food, fast life, and they want excitement. They want to see. They don't have enough time to watch those long duration games. Now, even cricket once was a 5 day game, 6 day game. Now cricket now came down to T20. Now it's T10 is becoming extremely popular. The 10
Mhm.
hours game. Okay, within with the blink of the eye, the 10 hours are over. So fencing is also a sport where it's quick, it gets over quickly. So that's what people want to see in that short span of time. They want maximum excitement and hope in the few days to come, this is going to be a very entertaining spectator sport, and more people will come to the stadium or the watch it on television. So let's all hope and wish that it's going to be the most popular games in India. Okay, Mr. Rohit,
Yes, hopefully, yes.
yeah. What has been India's best performance in fencing so far in the international competitions?
Well, as you all know, the best and highest performances will be this Tokyo Olympics, which
Yeah,
is Bhavani Devi participating. So
yeah,
this is in fact the first athlete, first fencer who will be qualified to the Olympics. So that is the ultimate. Olympics is the ultimate for any sport.
yeah,
So this is our highest performance.
yeah,
Apart from this, we have pretty good performance from one of our male fencer in the saber event only. He is also reached the top eight in the saber World Cup. Karan Singh. Then we have some of the performance from our EP girls team, which ranked in the top eight in the Asian Games, the recent Asian Games. We are in the top eight. We just lost the medal bout with China, and individually also she went on to the top eight. Jyotika Datta, and then we have Kabita Devi, who has won a satellite tournament silver medal in EP event. So apart from this, it's very exciting to know that our juniors and cadet, which is the under 17 and under 20, is also picking up. It is not like how when we used to fence, we used to reach at a certain level, but now we are comfortably winning medals at the Commonwealth, Junior Commonwealth and cadet. We are completely dominating now. I should say, because we were far behind from Canada, Australia, Wales, Ireland, these teams. But now in the 2018 Junior and Cadet Commonwealth Championship, which was held in Newcastle, we won 16 medals. We were like overall second after England, which is like one of the best performance that Indians have had at Commonwealth level. And at Asian Championship, we have a couple of medals from the EP team and the Saber team. So this is our performance so far, and we are very soon hoping, since now that Asian zone is getting very competitive, like just like the European zone with Japanese, Koreans, and Chinese dominating. This is now the most toughest zone. So if you win a medal at Asian level, I think it is very much possible for you to win a medal at the World Championship level. So it has
wow,
become
great.
that, yeah.
Mr. Rohit, we are showing progress in most games. Recently I was talking. I had a talk with roller skaters. I also had a
Mhm.
talk with a cyclist. She's done very well at the international. Now they are all showing. They're saying their recent records show a lot of improvement at the international level. And now, as a means of encouragement, we saw in this Olympics especially two of our swimmers qualified on the A category. And up until then, Sajan and our Narang, Gagan, AP Gagan from Karnataka, uh, they had qualified through the university route. Now, this is the first time they did the A category A qualification, which looked impossible in the earlier years. So definitely we are making progress in most games, and maybe
Yes, yes. I mean, very much. Bhavani Devi also qualified with her ranking only, not just the Asian qualifiers, because we had the qualifiers quota also.
yeah,
It is not that she qualified through the wild card round. She was working for this from a very long time, and
yeah,
like you said, she qualified through her rankings only. So that is a very big achievement.
very good. Now, Bhavani Devi is a torchbearer. She's a synonymous to the eyes of all Indians. We are eagerly watching what she would do for us. Then now, what have you to say about her, the first Indian to make it to the Olympics? And then what are the definitely yes, as an Indian, as a lover of sports, I would definitely ask this question. There are the chances of her getting a medal for India in the Olympics?
Well, firstly, I would like to give a big congratulations to Bhavani Devi for making us all proud. So the reason why you asked me fencing wasn't popular and now it's slowly picking up. We didn't have a brand ambassador all this while. Like how we have a brand ambassador for tennis like Sania Mirza, and for badminton we have PV Sindhu and Sania Nehwal. So now we have a face for fencing and everybody can recognize Bhavani Devi. So I have to tell you about her. I know her personally. We have played together. So it was in 2004 at Sub Junior and Cadet Nationals, Chennai, where we first met, and that is where she won her first ever national medal. So she was, very new to fencing. She just a year back, I think she had started fencing, and through her dedication and hard work, she beat all the top seeded fencer in the under 14 category, and she went on to win gold medal. So those memories are still fresh in my mind. After that, we have traveled a couple of times to the international competitions. So she won her first ever international medal. I was with her with the junior Commonwealth team. We were in Malaysia. So the Sabre team event was her first ever international medal. Even though she lost her medal bout in individual, she gave a terrific performance in the team bout to win the first ever bronze medal in the Sabre event at the Commonwealth level. So that was these were doors opening up for us. And then the next year we traveled to Asian Championship in Philippines, where again once again she won a bronze medal in the team event. So again that was the first ever thing. So she went on creating history like the first ever time. And so you asked me what are the chances for her to win at the Olympics. Well, I would say she has a very good chance because she is definitely a surprise package. She has this ability to create history. So you cannot counter lightly just because she's ranking in her 30s. No, not at all. And well, my only advice is to Bhavani would be, to be the way she is, because if she is the way she is, I think she can go on to, create more histories. And she loves her sport from the beginning, and I would only ask her to, continue the good job she's doing.
Yeah, female athletes have done exceedingly well in the recent years, in the last past Olympics, Commonwealth. They've been doing very well, and even this time we have the maximum number of individual shooters are females actually from the Indian shooting team. Okay, so a lot there to expect from her. Let's have our fingers crossed and look forward to whatever she can do. I'm definitely looking forward to see her on the screen. Okay, great. So, is it easy for any youngster to take up fencing and go all the way? What are the challenges before any athlete, an athlete who decides to make fencing their professional sport?
Well, see, if you look at fencing, it is not very different from any other sport.
Mm,
So it is. I would like to compare fencing to badminton. It is very similar to badminton now, because earlier until 2000, let's say 2010, we had a lot of problems in acquiring equipments because the equipments used to be very very expensive. It used to come from Europe, and each weapon used to cost more than 10,000 rupees. So it was very very difficult. It was like just like a royal sport. people with money could only pursue this sport. You would have heard Bhavani Devi also telling that our mother had to pledge gold to do all these things. So it was very difficult earlier since the equipments are very expensive, but now we have the Chinese market into it.
I was coming
uh,
to that.
it-
I was
yes,
coming to that.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
It is in almost all sports, and that is one good thing that they have done. That the equipment's prices have dropped drastically. So for one complete kit of fencing that you need for an international competition will cost you about 1,20,000 rupees,
Mm.
close to that. To compete at international level. But if you have to compete at a national level or a state championship, you can use the Chinese one, which will not cost you more than let's say 20,000 rupees. So that is the difference. So it is like very much like you spend like for a badminton or
Yeah.
cricket, any other sport. So now there are no much challenges. It is just that you need to find fencing centers. Now fencing is a booming sport. There are several coaches in several districts and states that are doing fencing coaching. So regularity is one thing that is very important in fencing, because fencing being a muscle memory sport, it is not very easy because of the movements that are there in fencing. These are not natural movements. So it needs a lot of time for you to get into it. That is the challenge. Patience is the challenge here. You get into the sports, take the course, and then you will achieve what you have to achieve
Oh,
in
great.
step by step. Yeah.
Okay. Now, does it take a lot to create the infrastructure for fencing? The centers, the what do you call the practice area? Is it too expensive? Is it very simple? Uh, can we can it become more affordable, and can more centers spring up without too much of investment?
Well, here again, I would like to give you an example of the badminton court. So the size of the badminton court would be sufficient for fencing training. However, you need the playing area to be 14 meters long. That's the minimum, along with 2 meters run back area. So 16
42.
meters length is compulsory
Yeah.
for fencing training, because along with training you will also be doing some bouts. So you need that kind of space. And
Mhm.
yes, it is a one-time investment for you to have a scoring apparatus,
Mhm.
which is about 1.5 to 2 lakhs. It's a one-time investment,
Yeah.
and you don't need the fencing pist actually, which is the aluminum pist, which it will cost anywhere around 3 to 5 lakhs. But to start off with, even if you have the normal badminton mat, these things you can start off with. Yes, it is not that you're having a competition there. No, not at all. So the scoring apparatus and this facility is more than enough, and then every individual has their own training gears, which is about 10,000 to 15,000, the Chinese one,
Mhm.
and that is very good until the national level. You can use that until the national level. So it's that's all it costs for you to.
With the entry of the Chinese, they more made more equipment affordable and available to us. People who were once dreaming that it's not for us. Now the people can definitely afford it and then take on go on with the game. Yes, there we have to thank the Chinese. Okay, now what can India do to produce more fences like Bhavani Devi in the future? What kind of support they need from the system?
Well, see, firstly, fencing was part of other sports, so we did not get much funding from the Ministry of Sports or any authorities. But now the good news is that fencing is part of high priority sports. So Ministry of Sports have chosen 14 sports to groom for the upcoming 24 and 28 Olympics. So the next two Olympics. So they have chosen sports which has more number of medals
Hmm.
to be won, because it kind of makes sense for you to if you're investing, let's say, 15 lakhs on a 15-member team sport, you either win a medal or you don't. But if you invest the same 15 lakhs, let's say, on 10 fencers, you could easily win about 3 to 4 medals. So here is the balance about medal winning,
Yes.
because at Olympics, usually at every Olympics there are only 10 events. Usually there are 12 events in fencing. So you can win 13 medals. So this Tokyo Olympics, they have included all the events, 12 events. So you can win 36 medals. So just imagine there are 36 medals to be won if the complete team is qualified and is going to participate. And at World Championship, it is 48 because it is gold, silver, bronze, and bronze. At
Yeah.
Olympics, it is gold, silver, and bronze.
Yeah.
So they have put in a very good effort in taking fencing to the top 14 priority high priority sports. So I would really like to appreciate the Ministry of Sports, SAI, Sports Authority of India, who has taken consideration. So it was during the time of our sports minister, Mr. Kiran Rijiju, who has looked into this and has made 14 sports
Yes.
are that are more
That can give
capable
us
of
more
going
medals.
winning this. So if you're looking at what we are lacking at, what we are expecting, we are not expecting much from the government since we have that kind of support now, right now. The only thing I would ask is if they could continue this support, for a longer duration, not just the two Olympics that we're looking at. Then we can become, an expert in fencing. Let's say 32, 2032 or 36 Olympics. Also, we have a very good chance of winning medals.
Yes.
And the other thing is that, media's attention. So this is something which is a very big thing,
Mm.
not just for fencing. I believe for any other sport, people start projecting you or broadcasting you only when
A
you
medal prospect.
reach,
Yeah.
yeah, reach that level. Let's say so. Where was Bhavani Devi? 1 year back or 2 years back, nobody ever knew about Bhavani Devi. It's not that she was not doing anything. She has won so many medals at the international level. There are so many other fencers who are training and winning medals. So I think it is media's responsibility
Yeah.
when you can question athletes and coaches, why are you not winning medals at Olympics,
Yeah.
or why is the performance down? So I think it is very important for them to support us from the beginning, see our journey, and then support us throughout. That is very important. That is the only thing which is lacking,
Yes.
I believe,
I agree.
right now. Yeah.
I agree with you. Now, there were other games also, especially like even in cricket also, until we won the 1983 World Cup, we didn't have that self-belief that we can be world champions. Then we can be best in the world. Then when it comes to badminton, until Prakash Pudkone won the All England Badminton Championship, badminton was nowhere in India. Of course, there were a lot of good badminton players, but we never thought we could beat the Indonesians and the Chinese and the Denmark, people from Denmark, and all those people. Now we are such a strong force in badminton. So yes, now I tell people from the other games when they say don't crib, see, you have to do something, make things happen. Then people will sit up and take notice of you. When the media takes notice of you, anything can happen. That is what you just said. Okay, now that Bhavani Devi has come, hopefully if she can produce a medal, yeah, there will be. That's what happens. When you go to a sports store and ask them, they say anytime an Indian does well in any sport, immediately lots and lots of youngsters take to that game and come here to buy that equipment. The same thing can happen after Bhavani Devi produces a medal for India.
No, no, absolutely. I understand
More
the
and more
procedure.
youngsters will be taking
Uh,
to fencing.
no, no, I understand the procedure now. It is the fruit that is important first, and then people would be ready to then sow the seed and then groom the plant and then make it. So
Yeah.
we understand the system. It is just a thing that was lacking in,
A
but
matter of time,
yeah, it's definitely a matter of time. Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
you were talking about support. Now, you are the head coach of the school that you are now in charge of, the fencing and archery school. That's very nice to know. Congratulations to you for that. Then, in fact, that is how I came to know about it. In the paper, the article appeared in the Herald, and then I made my efforts to contact you. And today we are here discussing on my show about what fencing is all about. That's really nice. Now, talking about support, do you think it's a good venture brought about by Karnataka Sports Authority? And how would you what would you say about this this support that has come? how will it be encouraging to produce more fencers from Karnataka, or how is it going? Do people come over to that place? It's quite a remote place. And what is your experience at that school, Aloit?
Well, yeah. Firstly, I would like to appreciate the editor, Hita Prakash,
Mm,
who took up this article in Deccan Herald.
mm,
So this was very exciting for us because that's when even you understood or got to know
mm,
that there is something that is being done here. And I would really like to appreciate Sports Authority of Karnataka for bringing a scheme like this. So this is a special scheme under SCPT TSP. So this is the name of the scheme, which is from the central government and it is run by our state government. So this scheme aims at looking out for tribal people. So this hostel that we are running is purely for tribals, scheduled tribe only. So most of the time we don't focus on the talents that we have around. So this in this scheme we have to find only people from tribal background who are suitable for fencing and archery. So this sports school which is there in Santemarali in Chamarajanagar district, it's about 175 kilometers from Bangalore. Like you said, it is in fact a remote place. It is located, let's say, very close to, let's say, 30-35 kilometers from BR Hills, very close to that place.
completely
So
forest area. Yeah. Mm,
yes, yes. So we every year we look in to get the tribal boys around Karnataka, and this is a state hostel. It is not just for that district alone. So we have pretty good students. We have done talent squatting from North Karnataka to South Karnataka. We have students from Bidar. We have students from Chikmagalur. We have students from all over Karnataka, basically. So these students are being trained. This hostel started in 2016. I took over as the chief coach from 2018. So right now we have very good achievements in fencing. Archery is also picking up slowly, even though they are not yet there. But yes, I do see them that they are also potential talent. If you look at if you give them another year or couple of years, you will see their performance also. Fencing, players now they are currently the best in the state. They have won many state medals. They have also beaten the seniors who are there, and they have won national medals. So one of the student has also participated at the Asian Cadet Championship, which was held in Jordan in 2019. So this is the best so far that they have done. I'm very sure that you can expect a lot of performance from them because overall, if you look at our Indian sports, a lot of people complain that we are lacking in infrastructure, other supports, these things. But I think the primary thing that we are lacking in is talent squatting. Even though we have the right kind of talent in India, we have people who can run faster than Usain Bolt. We have people who can swim faster than Michael Phelps. But the thing is, we fail to identify them. And these people are sitting inside remote villages, remotest place where you can, never expect that there could be a potential talent, inside these remote villages. So that is why I told you that if the media supports in actually advertising about the let's say intake of hostels, when there is an intake of hostel, we don't find many people because it is only an advertisement that is given in the newspaper. So if there is a lot of media involved, take it to TV level because every house now has TV. Take it to a lot of social media. I think it would be the best for us to get the best.
yeah,
So this is where
I would like to add to that.
uh,
In fact, you are the system also from where you also need to reach out to the media because they are ready, and
yes.
so many channels nowadays looking to host programs. You too should approach, so it can work both ways. I think a lot can happen. Now, I would ask you, why was this place chosen, and is it that the tribals are good in archery because it comes naturally to them? And I want to ask you, tribal boys, there is so much we need to speak about that, but not maybe perhaps. What are their strengths and weaknesses? Why was this place chosen, and what are the strengths and weaknesses of tribal boys?
Well, talking about these boys from the tribal background, they are fantastic people. Firstly, very down to earth people. I think people have a lot of misconception about them. I must tell you, they are one of the best group of people that I've worked with. Even though I've worked with many junior Indian teams or other states, things like that. So this is a very dedicated group, I would say, compared to any other group that
Mm.
I've seen. So that is their number one strength. So
Yes.
apart from that,
Community is
they are physically fit. They don't have to. We don't have to completely blend in to bring in the general fitness because they're generally fit.
mm,
So we have to just mold them into the specific fitness that we require for this. So that is their biggest strength. Their weakness is the awareness part. They are not uh, as smart as the city boys or girls who are here. They lack that awareness that has been created. So they're very spectacle about getting into new things. So you have to literally make them believe in you, and you
that's
have
what I
to
was
give
coming.
them
I was
that kind of
going to ask
trust.
you this.
Only then,
Yeah. How is
yeah.
their self-image?
So I'm sorry.
How is their self-image and self-esteem? The self-confidence. Normally, these kids, think that they're somewhat inferior compared to the city-bred children, that kind of thing. So, how is their self-image?
Yes, yes. So yes, I was coming to that. That is their main weakness. One is the lack of awareness, and they have this. They definitely have this inferiority. Compared to the city boys. But see, this is where your role. You play a major role as a coach.
Yes,
You
yes,
know to
always.
bring in all these things. But I believe that is just a small weakness that they have. I think when compared to their strengths, this is just a small weakness that they have. But otherwise, these boys have the potential to get to any level for that matter. Yeah.
Great. Nice to know. Okay, Mr. Lloyd. Is fencing a game of strength, stamina, and big physique, or even a normal build person can make it big in fencing?
Well, if you see, fencing is the only combat sport without a weight category,
No way.
as I mentioned earlier. So this clearly gives you an idea that every other combat sport like judo, boxing, wrestling, everything has a weight category. So here your strength plays a major role in all this combat sport. But if you take fencing, we don't have a weight category at all. So here we have age category because with age comes maturity. It's more of a mental sport. I would say it is a 60-40. 60% is your mental
Mhm.
capability, and 40% is your physical ability. It is
Mhm.
basically a chess. It is also called as body chess. In chess, you
Mhm.
think and you move, but in fencing, you think and you move your whole body.
Mhm.
So it is a major mind sport. Yes, 40% is your physical ability also, because if you can't perform what you think, again the execution is doesn't really come out. So it
Okay.
has to go hand in hand.
Yeah, that is
But maturity is very important. Yeah.
that's nice to hear. In fact, when you say 60% game, mental game, there is nice music to the ears of a sports psychologist like me that it's 60% mind. You were also mentioning about the muscle memory. Okay, muscle memory. In fact, our muscles don't store any of the skills that you already learned. It comes from the brain, and that's another debate. Okay, but yes, that's a normal usage that we make use of the muscle memory part, meaning that is the your whatever you practice is already stored inside your body wherever. That's why we use the term muscle memory. Fantastic. And then how did you were a fencer yourself, how did you manage, you represented India, how did you manage competitive pressure and expectations, and now as a coach, how do you assist your fencers to manage pressure, anxiety, nervousness, and simply called as stress?
Okay. So when I started to fence, when I was really young, I started. So I didn't know anything about pressure. I was just going out there enjoying my game. I was winning my medals. So it went very well. There was a stage when, after, let's say when I was about 15, 16, I started to, get that pressure. Out then I was continuously losing at nationals, about two, three, nationals. I was coming back without medals. So that was the time where, I realized, I sat down and thought about what exactly I was doing. Then I realized that it is not my game that I used to play. So what I used to do at the training was not coming out during the thing. So that was the only problem. So this was basically because of the anxiety. So I understood all that only at the later part of the stage, because at that point of time I never knew what was anxiety. To be honest, anxiety or depression. I was not really aware of these things. So I only thought it was just a natural thing for us to go through something like this. So I went ahead and thought about how to work on these things. So I thought, if I'm not doing exactly what I'm doing in the training, so let me try to visualize things and try to create situations. So this is how I overcame on my own. I did not have any support from a psychologist or anybody for that matter. Now, yes, now we have a very good team. We have a lot of people like you who are mental conditioners, mind coaches. There are so many now. Now kids know what is anxiety, what is depression, what exactly they're going through. So it is pretty much in control now, so that that everybody's aware of these things. Back then, I don't think we understood all these things. So we were like the raw people, raw talent who were just just going ahead.
Yes, thank you. Now, in your career as a coach and as a player, you might have you come across fencers either from India or from abroad falling victim to pressure and anxiety?
Yes, yes, absolutely. This is a very common thing that fencers have, and we keep having this every now and then. It is not just in India, but also, yes, we have seen great performers, or the best of best in the world gets blank when it happens. So it takes a lot of practice and to get to that level.
Thank you. Now, you have seen and you have been with Bhavani Devi from close quarters. You know her very well. Now, a lot is expected from her. Maybe you would also told her how to handle pressure and anxiety. She's already experienced. We have to accept that. There's nothing like an experience. She's the greatest teacher. Now, what would you tell? How would you tell her to handle pressure and expectations uh, going forward, especially in the Tokyo Olympics?
Well, see, I would only like to tell her to be the way she is, like I said, because she's the best at surprising people. So we shouldn't be, giving her so much pressure. Getting here itself is a very, very big achievement. I think, that she has already achieved the greatest so far. But yes, there is the next stage of winning medal. I think she is putting in all the work that she's been doing, training in Italy, and I think by next week she must be in Tokyo, and she will get used to the place. And most of the opponents are somebody that she has already might have already fenced at World Championships or at satellite tournaments. So I think it's all about on that particular stage. Even the greatest of greatest, when you come to the Olympic podium, the stage, it is a different environment altogether. Even the best of best could get anxious and lose out on things. So I would only advise her to be the way she is, like how she's always been enjoying the sport. So the first part is to enjoy the sport,
Yeah.
enjoy the moment. The process is very important. So that is what I would like to tell her.
The one thing that I don't want this to happen to her is that she should not get overwhelmed with the enormity of the competition. The Olympics is the highest, for any athlete. Definitely the Olympic, the games, athletes of the Olympic games. Now, when they go there, I have interviewed a lot of Olympians from. They tell me that the moment they go there in the Olympic environment, auditorium and all that, They say something happens to that, sir. We don't know from where it came. So I just wish that she's not overwhelmed with the enormity and the hugeness about the Olympics. I hope she takes it as any normal event and just to focus on her fencing. That's all. It's just like a tournament she took that takes place in our local city, in our own city. Handle it as good as any other competition. That will take away all the pressure. Focus, bring a focus to performance,
Yes,
and if the performance is good, definitely she's going to get a medal for us.
yes, absolutely. And even the situation is favoring all the athletes this time. This Olympic being, without the actual crowd,
Yes, yes.
the situation will actually favor a lot of athletes out there. So I think so there will not be that kind of pressure that there is usually with the kind of crowd. So that's what makes a very big difference.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully. Mr. Rohit, to the onlooker like me, fencing looks a brisk sport. Does it require one to be aroused and excited, or he needs to be calm and relaxed to perform well? Is there a difference from person to person in his style of play?
Well, yes, absolutely. Since there are three different events, Saber being the most fastest event, you get split second to make the decision. It is not just a decision that you make; you need to make the right decision. So you need to be very active if you are fencing Saber, especially. Foil is again a balanced event. EP is okay. You can be very calm because EP needs a lot of patience. So with patience and then execute the right move. So that is EP. And foil is the combination of both, speed and patience, both. So I would say it is suitable for all kind of people, depending on how they choose their event. I think that would be the thing that will take them, make them apart from the other person. Yeah.
Generally, you say that if they are too aroused and tensed, the muscles go tight and they can't perform well. Generally, whatever
Yes, yes,
categories they need to be
absolutely,
calm, and
absolutely.
because you said fencing is a game where you have to think fast. So if you are if you choke in the brain, if you freeze, unable to think because of the stress,
For that, I would like to give you an
you can't
example.
make your moves
Uh,
properly.
Yeah, so for that, I would like to give you an example. So fencing, if you are having that kind of feeling, so basically what happens in your body is your heart rate is high.
Mhm.
So if you observed, so basically when your heart rate is high, you can't think logically. When you are really angry, you make stupid mistakes. So your heart rate is really high. So that is why in fencing, beta blockers is a banned substance. So beta blockers generally reduces your heart rate. It is one of the banned substance in fencing. It comes under doping. It is very important for you to stay calm, keep your heart rate, particularly very slow, so that you have much time to think logically and execute your actions. So your mental calmness and your mind, your muscles, all these things being calm is very, very important. Yes.
Mr. Lohit, when see why the heart rate goes up is because you suddenly get excited, or you're also afraid that you may lose or something like that because of the points, the situation. When heart rate goes up, you also patience also comes down. You become impatient. You become too you want to become too impatient to get points. So you don't wait for the right move to attack. Normally, what you do, you hurry through your movements. You want to points quickly, and you go against your own style. That's when the brain doesn't understand why you're doing this. Your mind is telling you to do that, but your subconscious doesn't understand that. That's what happens there. So, all the excitement, the sudden changes in the way you look at things should not be there. They have to just perform. Whatever happens, they have to just perform. That's it. There's a big debate about this. Okay. Now, Mr. Lohit, has the Indian Fencing Association at any time utilized the services of a sports psychologist who can assist the fencers in being mentally prepared? And then again, I would like to add to this. See, not much is required to be told to senior fencers like you, Bhavani Devi, and those people. Of course, the youngsters need to be told what can happen. Why? Because these days, uh, for you to go to competition, suffer over there, experience, come back, again go, again experience, more than that, you lose a lot of time. That's where the Western countries are far ahead of us. They tell them what to expect, what can happen unexpectedly, and what you have to do. So they prepare them to something that can happen, because nervousness, even to Bhavani Devi, it can happen. It is good actually. It's healthy stress. We call it as use stress. It's a useful stress. Little bit of anxiety should be there, but they should not cross that threshold. Sometimes it happens. So the psychologists, like us, we train the athletes how to they about their mindset. One, when they are traveling outside to bigger tournaments, we tell them what to expect. What can a big tournament do to you, and how do you react to that? How do you manage that? How do you manage stress? How to keep your thoughts positive? These kind of preparation we do. We also simulate them to those conditions. What to expect over there? People like you will tell, no, this is what is going to happen over there, and just we come in and just say, we simulate the situation to them and tell them what is to happen, so they know, they are prepared now. So if something unexpected happens, they know how to react. They don't panic. The panic there, a fear and panic that can happen over there, can ruin your performance. I remember some of the ladies who represent India in the Olympics. I don't want to bring up names. One long jumper, if I'm right, was under so much of nervousness and anxiety that he said, "I'm not going to jump." And people told the person, "No, it's not right, because you come out there. It's not that we have got so many medals in long jump. It's not that. But if you say you are not going to, then you are going to be in serious trouble. Okay, you are going to fail. You just do your thing. Even if you fail, is all right. If you don't get a medal, it's all right. Now, see, this is something that can happen unexpectedly. So this is what we help our athletes to do. Prepare them to what is expected ahead. But that's what we do. So your turn, please.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you, and I'm glad that Fencing Association of India, whenever we have had the national camp, they have always provided us with a mental conditioner.
Very nice.
They have come, they have evaluated athletes, coaches, our fencers. I mean, the athletes. Also, every size center has, these kind of
Yeah.
people who take a note of all these things. Mind coaches are present. Now we have Center of Excellencies, Kilo India centers. So at all these centers, these things have been already in place, and they are definitely working towards it. And like you said, they are evaluating everybody, on time to time basis. Yes, even at Sports Out of Karnataka, they had recruited, last, let's say in 2018, they had recruitment for, particularly sports psychologists. So the only thing is that, um,
Unfortunately, no one don't took up that job.
yes, probably, but yes, so there was an effort in, bringing all these
Bringing
things. I would,
sports sciences,
really like
sports
to
sciences.
appreciate these efforts put in. It's just that everybody needs to, look into these areas, like how, me or you know the importance of this. I think every coach must understand the importance of these things, and start training mentally also for preparation. Yes.
Here, the coaches are very important, and we always would like to say that we are only the behind the screen people. The coach is the captain of the ship. He is the leader. He is the director, like of a movie. Like he's always takes the mantle. We are only the support staff. We are only That's why we are called as support staff. Okay, so it's always the coach. We always have to work in tandem with the coach, and both of us, the coach and the support staff, should be in agreement in what they are doing. They should always work as one. There should not be any difference over there. Mr. Lohit, I want this tip advice from you, because you're an international coach. Is it useful to keep things simple, or take people through the grind complexity of mind training and all that, and that too at the nick of the time? See, what happens is, if an athlete is working throughout, it's not just when Olympics is coming, they come running to us. It's not like that. The athletes frequently, on a regular basis, if they are seeing a psychologist, then there will be an understanding. If something happens to them on the mental health side, if they are a little bit low in confidence, they are having some issues at home, or they are slightly depressed, they can always run to the psychologist. I'm also a counselor, so we attend to those feelings also. when they have a personal psychologist, they know how to be. Sometimes it happens so that in the camp, suddenly the psychologist is invited, and at that click of time, not much can be done. So, what would you advise me, that at that point of time, not much time is available for us? How to handle the situation? Is it keeping simple is good, or what would you tell me?
Uh, Firstly, I've definitely seen that some of them, run to, these experts in the last minute. But I wouldn't recommend that because sometimes it works, sometimes most of the time it doesn't work out. So if
Mm,
you're looking at a long-term grooming,
mm,
if you're looking at Olympic
mm.
level or international medal level, then it requires, from the start, this kind of grooming should be there as soon as you finished your first year of basics. So let's say first year you're going through in
Exactly.
learning all these things. So there are different, let's say there are different, areas of training. First is you are training to train basically, and then you are training for a competition, and then you are training for winning in that competition. So I think these kind of things come into this part when you're training for the competition just before that. So basically, it is not that in the next month or next 6 months you're participating for a competition. No, it is a 1 year program because I divide my planning into this area where first 1 year I don't allow them to participate in any major competitions because that is the year where they are completely focused on how to train, how to get their basics right, get their techniques right. So when they get finish that basic level and move to the intermediate level of training for the competition is when they require these things because that is when the tactical analyzation comes into play. So if you are not perfect with your techniques first, then you cannot execute your tactical things. So that is why in this portion, this time is when all your people are required, and then support staff is very much required in terms of everything. Then there is another stage where you also uh, train to win. So basically for in this people don't understand, so people basically just go for just winning in the competition. So it doesn't happen overnight. So you have to plan according to which part you are. You need to first, it's very important to understand what is your goal, where you want to go, and where you are now. Second thing is to understand where you are now, and then actions. So what actions, what plan needs to you need to implement to reach your goal. So these three things needs to be very, very important.
Thank you very much. Now, talking about goals is not just about setting goals for achievement. You should also set goals for your routines, the processes, what levels you need to improve. There's a complex skill which suddenly an youngster cannot learn. It takes time. So he needs to set goals for the processes also. That's another thing. Now, as you said, everything is a training. Then everything is a habit. Like muscle memory is nothing but a habit that is stored when you do it on a regular basis. Okay, it's called as theory of repetition. When you keep repeating the same thing again and again and again, it gets stored very strongly in the brain. Okay, it's called felicitation. Then again, mindset is also like that. It has to be overlay, lapped, layer by layer by layer, and the mindset is drilled and groomed to the athlete, and he understands at some point of time. Suddenly, you can't put in anything into your brain because the brain will lose its because of short-term memory. You will forget everything. So that has to happen like any other training. Mind training is also a training. Mind is also a muscle. It needs to be trained. So this is all I want to say. So, Mr. Lohit, it was a very, very interesting discussion we had. You are very, very informed. You are very eloquent with your views. And I hope many fencers who get on to watch the recording, will be enlightened with your knowledge about your sport. And definitely they will they'll get a lot of feedback, and that will stand well with them for the future performance. It was really wonderful speaking to you, and I thank you very much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure
Well,
talking.
Yes. Pleasure is all mine. Mr. Vishwanath, thank you very much for having this session.
Yes,
It is important, I think, with interviews like this or sessions like this,
yes,
is when the word of mouth spreads and people try to, break that myth about what they know about fencing and also get introduced to this, great sport.
yes,
So I really thank you and appreciate for doing this session with me. So you're doing a wonderful job. I hope you continue to do this
thank
wonderful job with many more athletes and coaches
you.
and bring them to the limelight. So thank you once again.
Thank
It
you.
was a wonderful session.
And I hope uh, you get more success as a coach. You go on to produce more Bhavani Devis, and definitely looking forward. We are looking at fencing as a medal producing sport. We already discussed about that, and it is going to be one of those gay sports that can bring us a lot of medals. And hope
Yes.
future years,
Thank you.
maybe 5 years down the line, I'll catch up with you again. Maybe I'll find it very difficult to get you on board, but hopefully by that time you'll be a very famous person who would have produced more international medal winning fences, not just international fences, medal winning fences. That's what I
Yes. Yes.
wish should happen.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Really appreciate your time and patience. Yes.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
much.
very much.
Thank you. So thank you. With this, we end this conversation. Thank you very much.